Hello again, everybody. Great to have you along as we continue on with yet another edition of Journey Through Sports and Life. And for those of you that are just joining us for the first time, this is a great show. At least the three of us think it is, because
Absolutely.
we talk to all kinds. Yeah, you better believe it. All kinds of sports heroes and people involved with the world of sports talk about their great careers, but then talk about life in general, their family, their friends, and of course, their incredible legacies. My name is Scott Murray, along with the M&M twins. Hello, girls. How are you? Identify yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm Marjorie Lewis.
And I'm Marnie Schneider.
And we're delighted to have everybody on board here today. And this is your guest that you brought on board here. So we'll talk about that in a sec, Marnie. But in the meantime, I've got to talk about your Philadelphia Eagles, for Pete's sake. Your grandfather was the one-time owner of the team. Your mother became the first general manager in the history of the NFL that was a female. And my gosh, what an incredible legacy there. And they're on top of the NFL with the best record thus far this year. How about that, huh?
Yeah, it's very exciting. I know everybody in Philadelphia, I think they might finally be a little bit happy because, it's very hard to make Philadelphia fans happy. This might do it for a brief moment. We'll see how it goes. But yeah.
I tell you, as a sports anchor going to Philadelphia, as Marjorie did, many times over the years. I tell you, in my 30 years, I never went to a city that was tougher to deal with than the Eagle fans. Boy, they were tough. They were always tough. So I
definitely rabid fans. Yeah, they love their Eagles, their sports teams.
Yeah, they sure did. That was the only NFL team I ever went to that I caught a snowball on the side of the head as I was walking into the stadium. I said, "Hey guys, I don't play on the team. I'm just a sportscaster. Come on."
Yeah, and I was
they actually liked you, Scott. Imagine if they didn't.
You what?
Yeah.
What's that?
I said, and that's if they like you, they'll throw a snowball at you. If they don't like you, it's way where you're going to end up in the Schuylkill.
Oh my gosh, don't even go there. Well, I tell you what, before we take our first break, this is just our little introduction as we do each and every week. Bring us up to date, Marnie, on who your special guest is that you brought today.
So we have a great guest today. His name is Matthew Hatchette, but I think he goes by Hatch for the, ones that really the insiders. And Matthew played in the NFL for 8 years. And he's one of the cool ones that was able to transition from sports seamlessly into broadcasting, into the entertainment world, into coaching. And, he's done amazing things both on and off the field. So I'm really happy. And he's really good at Xbox. He used to play Xbox with my kids so Madden.
All right.
Yeah, he's scary when you play Madden with Matthew Hatchette.
Okay.
Well, great
we'll
friend
check
of mine, and I'm really excited to have him on today.
We'll check in with Hatch, along with yours truly, Scott, and Marnie and Marjorie, when we continue on Journey Through Sports and Life. Welcome back as we continue yet another edition of Journey Through Sports and Life here in the month of December 2022. And gosh, I don't know where you've been living this week, but it's been crazy. It was like in the 90s. Here in Dallas, Texas, last week. Then it dropped into the 30s, for Pete's sake. We got into the high 20s. We were below freezing. Then it goes back up to 7. This is December. This is crazy. It was
just Texas weather reminding us that it's Texas weather.
I think you're right. But we've got a hot guest today, though. So that's all that matters on this day. Marnie and Marjorie and yours truly, Scott, along with Matthew Hatchette. And I'll tell you what, Marnie, you take it away and introduce your good friend.
All right. Well, I'm really excited to have Matthew with us today. But like I said, the cool ones really call him Hatch. But
Hatch.
at the end of the show, we'll all be calling him Hatch. I occasionally will call him Hatch. But for the start of the show, I'm really excited to introduce Matthew Hatchette. Matthew played in the NFL for many years, for actually what would one consider a really long career in the NFL. And he's a great guy, a great philanthropist, and has done amazing things both on and off the field. So, Matthew, we're happy to have you join us today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Again, it's not as hot here as it is in Texas, but that's okay. You can have that 90 degrees in December. I don't want it.
Yeah, where are you right now, Hatch?
In Los Angeles, yeah.
Okay, in Los Angeles. Okay, out west.
Yeah, out west. So get a little dreary, little rain, but besides that, it's all good.
I hear you. Well, my daughter lives in California as well. She's down in Santa Monica, so that's not too far from where you are.
Yep.
So, yep, she likes the
Well,
weather. That's for sure.
My daughter lives in Tulsa, and so that's where I am right now. And you have some life experience in Oklahoma yourself. So
Yes.
if we could go back just a little bit, and if you could tell us what got you to Langston, and especially how the NFL found you. So if you could kind of talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, that's a great question. You know, a guy from Langston ends up in the NFL. Wow.
Yeah, it was the long road. I'll put it that way because you know you look at NFL rosters and you look at Saturday and Sundays as professional and college football, and you're like, okay, everybody goes to Ohio State, Michigan, Miami, Oklahoma, but there's also on the roster some smaller city kids or some smaller country kids or some small school kids, and fortunately and unfortunately, I was both. I went to a small high school in Jefferson, Ohio, which is in Ashtabula County, about 30 minutes outside of Cleveland. So when you're in those small towns, it's hard to get recruited out of those towns, right? So then from there, I wasn't good enough or bigger, stronger, fast enough to go to an Ohio State at the time or Miami, which is my dream school coming out of high school. I was just a late bloomer. I graduated high school at 156 pounds and I wasn't running a 4.4. I was probably a 4.7, 4.8 guy at best. And I think, when people see professional athletes, they're like, oh, at 12, you were this. And, at 14, you were bigger, stronger than everybody. It's like, no, it's really not that. It's kind of the opposite. You're the one that's people are saying he's too small or too slow. And then you start to work on it. And then when it finally comes into fruition, you're already 22 or 24, but that's when you're kind of hitting your peak. So, again, I was a quarterback in high school and a defensive back in high school. When I got to college, I wanted to change positions and I decided to change to receiver. At the moment, I was looking, at most like the Chris Carters of the world, Michael Irvin of the world, and Jerry Rice, of course. And those were like bigger bodied receivers. The quarterbacks, I think there were only two black quarterbacks there. That was Warren Moon and Randall Cunningham. So percentages was just like, that's going to be, the road. And I wasn't a great quarterback. So I decided to switch to receiver when I got to Langston. And I think, from there, I started a different, I guess, concentration on my position, because again, in high school, it was all about throwing the ball and, running the option back in the day. So my skill set was different in high school. And then I was like, I didn't get recruited. That was the only place that would really take me. So I ended up going to Langston. And from there, again, the rest was history. And I became.
Well, while you were at Langston, were you ever thinking NFL, or were you just thinking make the most out of your college opportunity?
You know what? Since I was probably 8 or 9 years old, there was no move that I didn't make this is why I'm going to the NFL. There was nothing. There was plan B. There's like, I have to make it to the NFL or there's life for me. That's just how I felt. Like I had to do it. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I had to do it. So when I got to Langston, it turned into, how do I get to the NFL, right? That's when I was changing my skill set of, okay, so I'm not a quarterback. Let me learn your position. At the time, we didn't have we didn't have none of those things that you could just go on your phone and look at, some drills or some routes. So I remember I would record games, off of TV and then go back and watch the receivers. But back in the day, even camera angles, on ABC or NBC, whatever, they barely had the receivers on the screen.
Right.
So I would like watch the first 3 steps and then the screen. Like that's all I was working on. And I never met another professional athlete at that point in my career. So I had very little to go off of, but I knew I had to get bigger, stronger, faster, regardless of, my skill set at the position. So from there, I just started working my butt off. Like, there was no going out in college. There was no partying. Those things were just not important to me. What was important was getting to the NFL. And I had, to try everything, exhaust every single angle that I possibly could. So again, off season, summers, staying at summer school, pretty much just doing all extra stuff, right? Go to class, work out, go to class and work out, go to class, work out, go to sleep, wake up, work out. Like that was my life for those 4.5 years. And again, nothing else mattered at the time. And of course it ended up paying off.
When you were a kid, and Marjorie brought up a great question when she talks about Langston and what it was like growing up. and where you had the vision to maybe someday play in the NFL. When you're that age, you always have heroes. You always have people that you look up to that, wow, he's my favorite. Oh, someday I want to, be just like him. Or you want to wear the jersey number. You mentioned an 88. There's Michael Irvin. You mentioned him before. How about you? Did you have people that you looked up to?
Oh man,
that were just the guy that someday you were going to be just like him or better?
Funny. It was a basketball player. That's who I looked
Really?
up. Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And
Oh,
again,
yeah.
I knew it was a different sport, right? But I didn't see Michael Jordan just a basketball player. And somebody made a comment, watching NBC or watching a game when I was in high school. I don't know. And I remember they said something. They said he would be Michael Jordan when he walked in the room, even if he wasn't Michael Jordan. And that just resonated with me. Like there's a persona about him. There was just a way that he did interviews, that he literally walked in a room, that he walked on the basketball court. Because it had nothing to do with him shooting the ball, because I'm not shooting the ball. It was just everything that he was doing off the court, the way he carried himself. And I was like, that's why I want to be a professional athlete. And that's why I wanted to play professional football. So Michael Jordan, again, if you go back in my room, this is back in the day. Kids probably don't do this now. But, you had the magazines, you cut out the pictures of magazines and you would put them up on the wall.
Oh, yeah.
And from wall to wall around my room was Jordan posters and pictures, Sports Illustrated, Jet magazine, a poster I might have bought at a store. That was my whole room. That's what I woke up believing I could be Michael Jordan of the NFL one day. And that was the goal.
And how he carried himself, you said you liked, but were there other things about his personality, other traits that you say he just did this or he did this?
It was all those things that didn't have to do with the game. It was what I heard about his work ethic, right? When I heard how many hours in the gym he was, when I heard how his focus was, and again, we didn't have YouTube, so there was some bad things about Jordan too. Obviously, over the years we've heard, the hanging out, stuff like that, but I didn't hear those things because the commentator didn't talk about those things during the game. But it was all those things. And again, it was just that determination, the teammate he was, the leadership that he had. Those were the things that are really sticking out to me and why I wanted to be Michael Jordan.
Matthew Hatchette is our special guest on this afternoon, and we're delighted to have him on board. Former NFL great, and of course, came from a very small school, but you just heard his incredible history, and he didn't like yet another football player. It was all about number 20. Was it 23 that Michael Jordan wore, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was all about him. Scott, along with Marjorie and Marnie, as we continue our conversation with Matthew Hatchette, the Hatchman, when we continue here on this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life. We're back with more right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Great to have you along this afternoon. Scott, along with Marnie and Marjorie, and the Hatchman, Matthew Hatchette, former NFL player. And I tell you what, why don't you take it away, my friend? Journey Through Sports and Life. Marnie, it's all yours.
So, Matthew, everybody really likes you. What do you think what would you say when you meet Matthew Hatchette? You come away feeling like, oh, that guy's so cool. And wow, that. What do you think it is about where did you get some of that coolness? Is it your mom, your dad, your coaches? Where did that all come from?
Well, first of all, everybody doesn't like me, but thank you. I can't imagine. But I wanted to come after that and say it's because I know that everybody doesn't like me, and it's okay. I honestly think the realer you can be with yourself, I think that kind of goes out into your persona on who you are. And I think if I step into a room or I'm with a group of people, I'm not trying to be anybody else. I'm just me, love life, gonna have fun, want it to be a good time type of person. And I think if I'm being authentic to myself, then I think authentic people gravitate towards me. And I just think that's how it's been. And again, it's not that, well, there's people out there that don't like, who cares about people that don't like you? We don't think about that anyway. We're taking the positive out of the room, if you will. But again, just laid back. And I just think I've been humbled enough to say, it's not me. It's my circle, my friends, my mom, and people who helped me get to the part in life. I think that's what it's about to me, trying to give back. Things I learned. I've learned a lot of things in football, so now I want to give back as much as I can in football. So I think those are the things that have, come into my life to understand that it's not about giving back and making my circle better, my life better. And then of course, everything else is gravy after that.
So you seem very, you're self-assured, you've got confidence, so here's the thing though, you mentioned earlier that a lot of these kids feel like they've got to go to Ohio State or, some of these bigger schools to find their way to the NFL.
Yes.
Now, for some, I don't know, I've got my allergies going here. For some kids, they might be more successful at a smaller school, and that's a good lifestyle for them. But they still they still have these aspirations of going to the NFL. So what happened that Langston led to the NFL? How did you go to a tryout? Did you, have the coaches come to campuses at the end of the year? Did they come to Langston? What happened?
By the grace of God. Again, if you're an athlete, right? If you really want something, right? Anything with the is anything worth doing is worth doing badly, right? It doesn't matter where you're at. If you love it, you're going to do it. And I just remember running track at Langston, and I ran indoor. I ran like the 200 indoor, the 55 or the 60 indoor, whatever it was. And I remember I was going out of a 3-point stance, and it was just so I could run a faster 40 in football. But while I'm getting beat every single time because I'm not coming out the blocks, I'm coming out of a 3-point stance. Well, I'm being laughed at, but I didn't care because it's for something bigger, right? And I think that's what these kids are not realizing. Everybody wants the success right now. They see the game Saturday night, USC Notre Dame. They see Texas OU Saturday. Okay, I want to do that next year. Well, maybe you're not ready to do that next year. It's going to be a longer process. And again, the best example to me is Tom Brady's draft pitcher. When he went sixth round, he just looked like a non-athletic, very average quarterback. Like, why would you draft him first round? Right. But when he gets there, then he changes his life in order to become, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. But at 22, he wasn't. So why would you draft him first round? And I think people have to understand the progress is going to be a long, long, tedious process. It is. It's going to take literally a very long time, and sometimes going to take your life. And then you still might not get exactly what you want, But when I was at Langston, the process is, yes, you have a pro day. Have scouts come in. You go to the NFL combine. Like, I didn't get invited to the combine, which is right there in Tulsa, the national combine. I remember after my senior year, I'd call them every day, saying I didn't get my invite to the combine.
It got lost in the mail.
Right. But after probably about a month and a half, I think the lady started kind of getting annoyed with me calling every day. And I remember her saying, well, if you haven't gotten it by now, you're not getting one. Okay. Again, doesn't detour me from my goal. It's just, a 3-second letdown. I'll be okay. Right. Go work out. That was my answer. Go work out. So after that, again, I didn't have, Langston was too small to have a pro day. So I didn't have a pro day, because that's when you could get 15, 20 schools at once. You go out and perform at your best. I didn't have a pro day. And then after the combine, they start doing individual workouts for OU and Oklahoma State. So they would come in to OU on Tuesday, then they work me out on Wednesday. Then they, at OSU on Wednesday, then they come work me out on Thursday. So I had about 16 to 17 different teams come see me in about probably 12 to 14 days. So I was working back to back to back. A lot of people say that's not good for you. I was like, I don't care. This is my only shot. So when they called me, say, do you want to work out tomorrow at 8 a.m.? Yeah, I'm ready. I was like, I wasn't gonna, woe is me, and oh my gosh, I'm sore, and I just worked out. Like, I could care less. Right, this is my only shot. Get out there at 8 a.m. Give it your best shot. And the funny thing is, my worst time that I ran was for the Minnesota Vikings, and they ended up drafting me. So again, it's a lot of different variables, of course, but I remember Chip Myers, late Chip Myers, who passed away, the receivers coach. He's the one that came down and checked me out at Langston. And again, I think I ran like a 4.56 and like a 5.4 six flat or something. And I
Yeah.
had to do like a 4.3 for like I think the Falcons and the Ravens. So I knew I had
wow.
it in me, but that just wasn't my best day. But
Mhm.
then you turn around and you get drafted by that team who you had your worst workout for. You just realize it's just all part of the process. It's not about
Mhm.
I had a good day today. That means tomorrow means this. That's just not how life is going to work. And I think just looking back at it, people have to understand you have to go through those 3-second my life is over moments, because you're going to have way more of those than you have these 3-second great moments. But
Yeah.
that one 3-second great moment when Denny Green called me and he said, Matthew Hatchette, you want to play for the Minnesota Vikings? I said,
Wow.
yep.
Wow.
And
What a thrill.
those 3 seconds was every single weight I ever lifted, every single sprint I ever ran, all the hours at 10 o'clock at night on the field working out, like all those for the 10 years were in those 3 seconds. And that's what the 3 seconds is about. And again, if you can get 1, 2, or 3 of those moments in your life, then you've lived a beautiful life, because a lot of people
No
don't.
kidding. Wow, this story just gives me goosebumps. I mean, there are so many people that talk about their desire to get to that level, but don't do what it takes to get to that level.
Yeah.
And what you did is such an extraordinary example for kids. Anybody's listening to the show and they think that they have a shot, but what is it? What will give them the advantage? This is a great example.
Yeah, because most of the time you have that failure. It's the 3-second failure that you're like, I can't do this, or this. Here's the big one. This feeling is not comfortable. I know. It's like success is not comfortable. And again, it's like you're gonna fall down, you're gonna fail, but those 3 seconds, you have to get back up and keep moving on, because you know that win is eventually coming. You just don't know when, but it's coming, and you have to believe that with your whole heart, else it won't happen.
Oh, definitely. Wow.
Do you have
My mom
you
would
have
always
kids of your
say,
own yet?
it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Absolutely. Sorry, Marty, what'd you say?
Oh, my mom would say, it's not an if, it's just a when.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any kids of your own yet, Matthew?
I do not. You know what's funny? Because, again, I train and I coach a bunch of kids across the country, seeing, the superstars at 12, 13-year-olds say he's going to be a dude one day. And I see other 16-year-old 5-star kids, and I'm like, he's probably not going to be very good, even though he's good now. And I'm very tempted to write a book on parenting.
Oh.
I know it's the dumbest thing ever, because people are, you don't have kids. I literally see more parents ruin their kids' dreams than the kid ruin their own dream.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not saying that, again, I don't have parents. What you're talking about? You don't have kids. I get it. But there's so many things that I think parents try to protect them kids from that you should not protect their kids from. I tell my brother, my sister this all the time. You have to let them fail. You have to encourage failure, because if you don't, if they're hitting 22 and they've never failed in life, it's tough. Life's going to be tough. You have to take the L's when you're 14, 16, and 18, and you got to take a lot of them. And that's where you're going to get your resiliency from. That's where you're going to get your character from. If you're always running behind them and not letting those kids fail, it's going to be, and I'm talking about sports specifically, it's going to be hard to say, okay, now when he's 22 and he's a first rounder and he gets to the stadium and he gets booed for the first time, how does he handle that? Or he's going to see a guy who is bigger, stronger, faster than him, and he doesn't have a good day, and he's always had good day. How's he going to handle that? Like, those things are what's way more important from the ages of 22 to 80 than taking a small L at 14 and 16, which we already know the kid's not going to remember the next day anyway.
Well, that's exactly why I asked that question, because I kind of get the feeling that, excuse me, you could write a book. I just get the feeling from some of the things in your response to Marjorie's question, it just kind of fits in there that you're maybe got a little child psychology in you, that you're sharing the message and knowing all the hurdles and all the adversity that you had to overcome as a youngster, just because of the fact that you were, not the physical specimen that you think that most college potential candidates would be to get into the pros eventually someday. It's just not there. So the way you've overcome all that and had just the mindset that you've shared with us, being positive, being productive, but realizing you might not have, you got the skills, but maybe not the size physically that some of the other people do. That's all right. I can still do it my way and get it done in a much more creative way. So good for you, Hatch. I think that's great. We're going to take a brief time out. Journey Through Sports and Life, the name of the program. I'm Scott, along with Marnie and Marjorie, and our special guest, Matthew the Hatchette. So, Hatch, we're back with more right after this.
All right, so Hatch, you're drafted by the Minnesota Vikings, and you show up, and then what?
Oh, you want to know? Okay, you want to know what's really funny? So, of course, you go through that 3-day mini camp, right? And you know, it was not the worst experience. It was just another experience. So, you guys ever flinch when you're about to fall asleep, like you do this?
Oh yeah.
So our first mini camp, you know, you get drafted, you go to the city, then the following week you have a 3-day mini camp. We have to do it, you know, physicals Thursday night probably. Then I think Friday morning, I think 8 a.m. Let's say we had meetings. So I'm going to sleep in the hotel, and there's a bed right beside the wall, right? I picked the bed to the wall, right? You have a roommate over there. And so I jerk when I sleep, and I kick the wall, so hard I broke my toe.
Oh,
so I'm like, okay, I'm going into my first mini camp in the NFL. And I'm like, do I tell the trainer? Do I tell the coach? I'm like, you know what? I'm not saying nothing. My foot was black and blue. It was, you know, I could just feel one of those where you just feel your heartbeat in it. Like you felt it like every time you walked, and it just squished. I'm like, I'm not saying anything. I'm going to just get through this mini camp somewhere. Because at the time, don't forget, I'm thinking I'm going to get cut any day. You know, when you're a late round draft pick, you've heard the stories, like you have one bad day, you out of here type of, you know, attitude. So I'm like, I can't have a bad day. And that was my very first day of mini camp. Of course, I made it through the mini camp and made it through training camp, had a great rookie year of just learning pretty much. But I remember how it started, and it didn't start out great, but it also just goes back to, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to care if I hurt my toe and, you know, oh, okay, we'll sit out this. No, there's no sitting out, right? It's just, you go to it, you go do the best you can, you make mistakes on the way. So what? You wipe yourself off and get up and go do it again. But again, I thought I had a good rookie year, and you know, that was the beginning of my rookie year though.
And wow. So teammates, were they supportive of the rookies? Like, how do they treat you? This guy coming in and
you know what? They treat you like rookies. It does not in a bad way, but I remember Johnny Randall and Corey Fuller, like those are my boys now. And it's a respect thing, but they test you a little bit. Because again, when guys come in that locker room, you want to see, are they there for wins? Are they there for themselves? Are they there to get commercials and make their own money and be selfish? Are they really here for this community and help this team win games, right? If you can prove that you're there to help that team win, then you're going to be accepted. Doesn't matter skin color, height, weight, position. Like, we need 53 guys in this locker room that's all going to be, you know, rowing the same way. And that's what I was. I was a good
team. Speak about mentioning height and weight. So you come out of high school, remind us again, and then what were you when you went into camp?
Yep, I was 156 pounds when I graduated high school. And again, considered slow. And my rookie year, I was 6'3", 215, probably 314. So I did all of my growth. And that's what I'm saying. Like the college kids, they think when I just get to a big school and I just go ahead, like, no, there's the Matthew Hatchettes of the world that are catching up to you. If 5-star, 4-star, superstar in high school, if you stop working, I'm going to catch you later. And then I remember the Hall of Fame game as a rookie. And I caught a pass. I guess it was pretty cool. It was a one-handed catch, and it was the bomb that helped us, you know, score points in the second quarter. And so it was a good game. It was a good coming out party, right? I could hear people starting to talk about Hatchette, right? So I remember people are starting to say I'm a speedster. And I was like, wow, I'm a speedster. Because again, I've always been too slow. I was always not the fastest kid. And I'm like, now I'm in the NFL and people are hollering speedster behind my name. And so I'm doing an interview after practice of our first week of the Hall of Fame game. And I remember the guy says, he's like, so you played well. Do you feel like you've made the team? And before I could answer that, Denny Green was walking right behind me, and he And he just, in the Denny Green voice says, be careful how you answer that.
Oh yeah, I would imagine.
So, and it just hit me. I'm like, you know what? That's past. It's the NFL. It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. You better have a good day today. And it goes back to saying, like, if I don't have a good day today, I'm going to get cut today. And
tell you what,
for me.
Yeah, Hatch, before we get to wrap this up, we want to talk to you about what you're doing now. But before you do that, if you could just take 30 seconds with everything you've shared with us today, what is it that you would like to tell Marjorie and Marnie and Scott and our entire audience what your legacy would be when it comes to football? You're a kid that never anticipated really being in the NFL. You wanted to be, but if anybody was asked, he doesn't have a chance. And look what you did. So what would you like your legacy to be before we get to what you're doing right now?
I think it's about believing in yourself. I think, again, it didn't matter what anybody else was going to tell me. I was going to make it in the NFL. Now, again, for kids listening and people understanding where their journey is headed, it doesn't matter what the other people think. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else is going to believe in you. And I think that's what I'm about. There's still big dreams that I have till this day that I want to do. And if I say them to other people, I sound crazy. Like, you're never going to do that. But I think it's just something inside of me that's saying there's a life out there that you have to go live it, and you don't let nobody else dictate what you want to do.
Makes sense. Marjorie, Marnie, talk about what the Hatch has got going on now.
Yeah, I guess you're now doing some work in Hollywood. So what are you doing, and how did sports kind of prepare you? Obviously, you had such a determination and a hard work ethic. So what are you doing now, and how did that translate into this?
Again, like any other player, when they're getting done, they're a little bit confused on what do you do? How do you transition out? And I remember my agent at the time, he was producing movies in Hollywood and starring in movies. And Dwayne Martin, he was good friends with Will Smith at the time, and they were just creating a company called Overbrook. And I kind of got to sit in on meetings and understand the process of, how do you put a film together and all these things. So I was like, you know what, that's what I want to do. I don't know why I said that, but I said it, so therefore I have to go do it. And then I tell my mom, she's like, "Why you always pick these things that are impossible?" I go, I don't know why neither, Mama, but since I said it, I have to go do it. And I end up running into my my business partner until today, Brad Furman, and we end up doing this movie called The Take together, and it was all the things that when I was making that movie, I felt like I was on a team again. Like I felt that we were in training camp. We had to go through long hours, long days, and wake up and do it all over again tomorrow. And again, the film was a very successful film, was up for some Independent Spirit Awards. Rosie
nice.
Independent Spirit Awards. Had John Leguizamo in it, Tyrese, Bobby Cannavale. So it was very,
wasn't Rosie Perez in there
Rosie
too?
Perez, yes, she was up for Independent Spirit Award as well. But again, just that transition, that feeling of this doesn't exist today, but tomorrow, if you put your all into it, it can exist, and you can go ahead and present this world. And that's very similar to, I guess, my career path. Like, you don't exist until you make it on that stage. And I think that's why I love the entertainment side and the struggle of the entertainment side.
In front of the camera, behind the camera.
Yep. I did in front of the camera on The Take. Did some other.
Did you like both? What was your favorite though?
I'm on camera now, so I can't say I hate it. I can't say I hate being in front of the camera. Again, I don't get nervous. It's kind of natural to me to talk, but I guess what you're talking about now makes more sense. And so if I wouldn't be a character talking about or doing something I don't want to do, then I don't want to be on camera doing it. So therefore I kind of left the acting thing alone and just wanted to do behind the scenes. And it's more, I guess, impressive in my eyes to just create something today that didn't exist yesterday. That's what I want to do.
Interesting.
Well, I took a peek at your IMDb page, and it's pretty popular.
Yeah, and again, we're films are one thing. Those are 3-4 year projects sometimes. Into the podcast space. Back in the day, we put a bunch of money in podcast space, so we're trying to present that as a company as well. And again, from content is king, as you know now, but back in 2010, we didn't have the Hulu, Netflix, Apple. But
Right.
now those are the big dogs, and nobody, you're not running to NBC, Fox, and ABC anymore. You have so many platforms. So if you can create something good, then people will come, people will watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Marnie,
Definitely.
any closing thoughts you've got?
Well, tell us, Hatch, about your new podcast that you're doing.
Yep. So again, we have one right now. I have a couple out. So get your popcorn ready with myself and Tio, right? Tara Lawrence. That's fun. We have a good time. We it's not about sports. It's sports and entertainment. But like I said, some of our guests like Michael Strahan and Ice Cube and Cedric the Entertainer, Tank the singer. Then we'll go to Tyreek Hill. So we're all over the place, but we're not talking about sports. We're talking about how you transition in and out of sports, or how you transition in and out of celebrity, and what are some of the things, some of the tools that you had in high school and college that were able to get you to your platform. Because to us, that's what's more important. You share those things so other people can, of course, go out and achieve their dream as well. So get your popcorn ready. That's on Fubo TV with me and Tio. That's a weekly show. And then Amazon Amazon just launched our other podcast called The League, narrated by Richard Sherman, Taylor Rooks, which is doing great. So go download that. It's 10 episodes of, again, just how the league, the stories about the NFL, again, from the Tom Brady jersey, on to some other quirky stories, but it's fun. It's light. It's narrative storytelling. So it's not talking head podcast. It's narrative storytelling. Paul Kershuri writes it. He's a writer here in Hollywood, does that. And of course, we have another one called Shadow Ball that will be out sometime next year as well.
Wow. How do you have time for all of this?
Yes, we don't. Hey, you know what? You wake. That's the name of the game. You wake up and you go. And like I said, you get it all done every single day, and you let the chips fall where they may.
Yes.
Former
Sounds good.
Former NFL player, Matthew. Where is he? Is he there? The Hatchet Man. Yeah, there he is our special guest today. Having lots of fun talking about the NFL and talking about his incredible career, considering the fact that he was 156 pounds when he graduated from high school, and then gets a chance to play many years in the National Football League. Doesn't get much better than that. But we're going to be back with some final thoughts and maybe find out what he has down the road. NFL, now he's talking about movies and what have you. What lies after that? The trifecta, as they say in life. As we continue with this edition of Journey Through Sports and Life, we're back with more after this. Welcome back once again as we head down the home stretch. This is our final little segment here. Marjorie and Marnie and yours truly, Scott, along with the Hatchet Man. Marjorie, take it away. What do we got?
Yeah, we only have about 3 minutes left in this segment, so we got to squeeze a lot in. So you coached a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what the value was in that, and then what you got next on your plate.
Yeah, well, again, the coaching / training, because it's kind of all connected. Again, football now, especially after you hit 13 or 14, you train all year, right? So you go through a season, and then you train from January pretty much till June and July. Then you start a season again. So the kids are really not taking time off. So we're always working out with those kids. And I've just learned, again, some of the kids who are serious about it, it's going to come into fruition. It really is. And again, I remember a kid, Trent Irwin, who I've trained since he was like probably in 6th grade. And I remember him coming to me in college. He's like, I don't know if it's going to be worth it. And I just told him, like, it's going to be worth it, because he was one of those kids, 100% football, not going out to homecoming and proms and hanging out with friends. I mean, all football, goes to Stanford. Now he's on his 4th year in the NFL with the Cincinnati Bengals. And I look at him and say, see, I told you so, because it's worth it. If you sacrifice those things, you will get the reward. And again, I think that's what it is about these next, the next path, or, the next career. It's like, whatever it is, it's like, I'm going to sacrifice something, but I think at the end of the day, I'm going to get what I want out of it, because you sacrifice something, because you go all in. If you go 90-10, it's not happening. You go 80-20, it's not happening. You have to go 100% in, and you're going to get 100% out for sure.
Hatch, I don't know who your parents were, but as far as role models, I think you got 2 there. Because everything you've shared with us, and I'm sure Marnie and Marjorie would agree, you seem to really have your head on straight as to what's important in life and how you get it done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, my mom, Betty, and again, she instilled the work ethic in me early. Again, my dad left when I was like, I think 8 years old. I remember saying this like probably 10, 15 years ago, like, my dad was so hard on me till I was 8. Like I didn't need him for 9 through 18. Like I already in me, you know. So when he left, he must have put a lot in me in those first 8 years of my life, because if he would have been around the whole time, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. So, but it all worked out, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
Well, tell your mom she did a great job. We've got to wrap it up, but I tell you what, this has been a real pleasure to meet you and hear about your incredible past. And we certainly wish you all the best, Hatch, in the future. Marnie, 5 seconds. Marjorie, 5 seconds. Go for it.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's great. Marnie?
Yes, thank you, Hatch. It's always great to hear your story and the grit and determination, and bravo to Betty, and tell her thank you for us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, stay well and Merry Christmas and be safe. Matthew Hatchette, our special guest. Till next week. For Marjorie and Marnie and yours truly, Scott, for Journey Through Sports and Life. So long, everybody.
Happy holidays, everybody. Peace.